talk a little bit about tax changes for 2012. Why? Because I'm an accountant. When we do taxes. We talk about what do accountants do in general. We do what I would call a lot of required work. Required work. I looked it up today, couldn't get a solid answer. There are, according to what I looked up, 7,500 pages of tax code. Changes I got on one piece of paper this year. If you were to ask me what are the changes for 2012, I'd probably tell you, no, not that many. That's because I've been doing it for 26 years. I remember back in 1986 where there was a big law change. You know, volumes of information we had to do. I still to this day will be asked questions about certain laws that changed back in 1986. There's one in regards to selling a home. It used to be that if you purchased a home after selling, you could do what was called rolling over the game and not pay the tax on it. Well, that law went out back in 1986, and I guarantee you, every year since then, I've been asked the question, what do I need to repurchase at so I don't have to pay any more tax? So, required work by accountants is volumes of knowledge. It's hard for any individual to keep up with that, let alone me as a CPA. So I've given you a little sheet, kind of a cheat sheet for 2012. People hire accountants because of the required work. I have to get my taxes done. If you're a business, I have to file my corporate or my partnership taxes. I have to do my payroll taxes. I have to do my sales taxes. All things that are required. Do these things necessarily make you better in business? No, they're required. When you sit down to do your taxes, most of the time it's, how do I get them done and out of the way? If it's your personal taxes, if I'm getting a refund, you're happy. If you're owing, you're not so happy. Now, do accountants spend their time explaining all that on what goes into filing your taxes? No. Why? Well, number one, it takes a lot of time to explain things. Accountants usually bill by the hour. So why would an accountant spend a lot of time explaining to you line by line on your tax return what went into it? Part of it is the accountant goes through it every day. It's kind of old hat. I remember when my wife and I were having our first child, and we went to the doctor, and she's going for her weekly checkups at one time, monthly in the beginning, and we'd go in, the doctor would check her out and say, everything's going good. And we'd come back to the house and go, what does that mean? We haven't had a baby before. Until we started asking questions later, we didn't find out about some of the things like, what's the delivery going to be like? What are things going to be like after we have the baby? We had to start asking questions associated with that to become more knowledgeable. And you know what? The doctor took time with us. But he wasn't going to sit there in the first and the second and the third visits and give us the whole story on what it's like to have a baby. Because he wouldn't have been able to see very many patients that day. But when we asked, he took the time with us. And I think it's very similar with accountants, in that you have to be proactive with your accountant. You have to ask questions, and if you don't know what questions to ask, you've got to try to make the time to sit with them to discuss it. One of the success stories I can tell you about one of my clients early on, when I started back in '85, is actually I picked up this client through the fictitious name filing, which is an unusual way to pick up a new client. He called me up and said, I need monthly accounting work done. No problem. Went out and saw him. The work that he had for me on a monthly basis was very simple. It wasn't really anything other than checking out what the bookkeeper did for him. The difference was is at the end of me looking at the books every month, we sat down for 20 to 25 minutes. It was built into my fee. It was something that was going to automatically happen. And some months we had nothing to talk about, And other months, it was like a waterfall of knowledge flowing from both of us. He knew what his business was like, and because he took the time to think about his business, the ideas would come out. And it was my job as the accountant to support where I could from a tax angle, from an accounting angle. It was sometimes my job to put him on a timeline. Okay, you want to do some advertising, we're going to do that within the next 3 months, and here's your goals on what you're going to do. So that when I come in next month, this is what we're going to accomplish. That was a manufacturing business that was located in Monrovia. At the point in time, he was probably taking home about $60,000 a year. By the year 2002, when he retired, he was taking home $250,000 a year. And his business was, fair market value of it was $2.2 million. Not because of anything I specifically did, but I think it's because the owner looked through the forest. He took the time to sit down and think about his business. And what could he do? He dreamt about it. And I think as owners, as individuals, not just business owners, but us as individuals, we get so busy in our day-to-day lives that we don't think about ourselves enough on what we can do to accomplish more. And I think that's where you have to go to your accountant and get them to spend the time with you to talk about changes for 2012, to talk about things about your estate plan. Do you have a living trust? How does it apply to you? A lot of us know we should have a living trust, but we don't necessarily know the reasons why. So why not ask? If the accountant doesn't want to give you the time for it, that's another issue. And yet, unfortunately, when it comes to that, there are charges associated with it. Nothing in life is really free. But I'd be willing to bet you that if you're trying to get on paper a plan overall for your business or for yourself personally, that the time and money that you spend in the long run will be much more worth it than if you just go through each day trying to get everything done in that tight little compartment. You know, if you're in a retail business and it's Christmas time and you're busy, you don't always have the time to step back and see how the flow of information is going, how your products are being bought, how your customers are looking at you. So you need to take 15 minutes a day and look at it. Or you need to take an hour with the accountant and discuss it. So my point is, accountants do things that are required. And there's a lot of them that are very good at it. And my point is, you need to make your accountant work more for you, because they have a wealth of knowledge that will help you. And I think in the long run, using all the professionals, which there's plenty of them in this room, to surround you, whether it be insurance, whether it be vendors, sitting down and being able to talk to people about what you do, the light bulb's going to go on. And you have to find a way then to put that into play. And I'm saying that you should try to do that with your accountant. That's what I've been trying to do for 26 years. I feel I've been fairly successful at it because I'm still around 26 years. And I pride myself in that I do a lot of hand-holding with people, because I know what it's like not to feel like you know something and you need to be educated, but you need to get out of that. I say go to your accountant and pick their brain. And in the long run, that'll be the best for you. My name is Jim Hundshamer. I'm glad to be in Glendora and be a member of the Chamber, and I hope to talk to many of you soon. Thank you.